a disguised visit, and a whisper of trouble. The wind off the Oregon coast was sharp that afternoon, brushing against Justin Bieber's tattered denim jacket as he stepped out of his truck. His hat sat low, beard rough, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. No one would recognize him like this, and that was exactly the point. He wasn't here as a celebrity. He wasn't here for applause, selfies, or spotlights. He was here to find the truth. 15 years ago, Justin opened the very first Harmony Café, a quiet little coastal diner meant to be a place of peace, second chances, and good food. Over the years, it had grown into a small but beloved chain. But lately, something didn't feel right. The numbers weren't adding up. Profits were dipping. Staff were turning over. Yet the reviews were still glowing. And in Justin's gut, a quiet alarm had begun to ring. So he came back, not as the owner, not as the pop icon, but as a nobody with dusty boots, worn jeans, and a fake name on the ticket. Just another face in the lunch crowd. The bell jingled as he opened the door, swallowed by the roar of voices and clinking silverware. The scent of clam chowder and salt water filled the air. For a moment, it felt like home again. But then he heard it. 2 cashiers by the register, laughing under their breath, voices low but sharp. One of them nodded toward the back, where an elderly man was hunched over a sink, scrubbing dishes. "Still here?" the guy sneered. "Should have retired a decade ago," the girl replied. "Total waste of space." Justin froze. That man, his name was Eli, had been with Harmony Café almost since day one. White-haired, wiry, and kind to a fault. The kind of person who remembered every regular's name, who showed up early, stayed late, and never once complained. And here he was, being mocked like he didn't matter. Justin slid onto a counter stool, his stomach twisting. He watched as Eli moved through the rush like a quiet current, mopping up spilled juice, calming a flustered mum, fixing a broken mug before anyone even asked. Graceful, humble, invisible. No one clapped, no one thanked him. But without him, the place would fall apart, and yet someone was trying to push him out. Justin sipped the bitter coffee served to him with a fake smile, his eyes scanning every move at the counter. The cruelty, the silence, the smirks. Something was wrong here, very wrong, and he was going to find out what. The smiling facade and the silent betrayal, the surface of Harmony Café, sparkled with charm. Sunlight filtered through sea glass lanterns, painting the worn wooden floors in soft hues of blue and green. Tourists snapped photos of the rustic decor, laughing over chowder and sandwiches. Locals chatted at the booths, sipping their bottomless coffee refills. It looked perfect, alive, warm. But Justin knew better. He could feel it in the air, like a song just slightly off-key, beautiful on the outside, but something dark stirred beneath the melody. He kept his head low and listened. The 2 cashiers, Jasper and Nora, remained glued to the counter. Jasper was tall, lean, with a smirk that never quite left his face. Nora had a ponytail that bounced as she moved, her smile quick and sharp, but cold. They wore the right uniforms, said the right things to customers. But when they thought no one important was listening, their tone changed. And today, Justin was listening very carefully. He watched as Nora rang up a customer, an elderly couple with kind eyes and slow steps, 2 sandwiches and coffee. The total came to $18.50. The man handed her a $20 bill. Nora smiled sweetly, handed back $2, and slipped the remaining 50 cents into her apron pocket without blinking. The couple thanked her. They didn't notice. But Justin did. That wasn't an accident. It was a tiny theft, small enough to be ignored. But in a place like this, if it happened 10 times a day, it added up. And from the way she moved, from the casual way her fingers danced over the drawer, this wasn't her first time. And Jasper, he noticed. He gave her a subtle nod, silent approval. Justin's jaw tightened. He turned slightly, eyes drifting back to Eli. The old man moved like clockwork, quiet, deliberate, with a steadiness that made you forget he was even there. A toddler dropped her crayon. Eli knelt down, slow but steady, and picked it up with a soft chuckle. "Future artist, huh?" he said, handing it back. The girl giggled. Her mother smiled. But no one clapped. No one thanked him. Just like always. And yet Jasper's words from earlier still echoed. Clumsy old fool. Justin gritted his teeth. Was this what his cafe had become? A place where quiet kindness was mocked and small thefts hid behind smiles? Eli returned to his sink, back slightly hunched, rubbing his wrist before he started scrubbing another stack of plates. Justin noticed the wince, subtle, fleeting. But it was there. Pain, maybe arthritis, maybe something worse, and still, no complaints, just work. As the lunch rush surged, Justin caught glimpses of more red flags. A young waitress, Mia, fumbled an order. She brought out a burger instead of a salad. The suited customer at the booth snapped. "It's not rocket science," Mia froze, embarrassed, overwhelmed. Before she could even respond, Eli appeared with quiet authority. "That's on me, sir," he said calmly. "Let's make it right." He didn't raise his voice, didn't make excuses, just offered a free coffee and took the wrong dish back with grace. The customer settled down. Mia mouthed a silent thank you to Eli, her eyes wide with relief. But in the background, Jasper rolled his eyes and muttered, "Too soft for this place." Justin had heard enough. This wasn't just about profit loss. It was about the soul of the place, the unspoken culture behind the counter. Jasper and Nora weren't just toxic. They were undermining everything Harmony Café stood for. Justin glanced at the tip jar. Jasper passed by, slipped a folded bill into his own pocket and kept walking. Slick, confident, as if he owned the place. But he didn't. Justin did. And right now, his heart ached. Because Eli, the man who had worked the hardest, who had stayed loyal for 7 years, was being treated like trash. Ignored, targeted, disrespected. And worst of all, he didn't even know it. He just kept cleaning, kept caring, kept showing up. Justin shifted his weight on the stool, trying to ground himself. The bitter coffee in his cup didn't help. Then Clara walked in. She was a regular. Grey wool sweater, lavender scent. The kind of woman who had probably seen too much and forgotten none of it. She slid into the stool next to Justin and gave him a quick once-over. "You new around here?" she asked. "Just passing through," Justin mumbled, eyes still on Eli. Clara followed his gaze. "That man's been here longer than most of these walls," she said, nodding toward Eli. "Heart of gold. Life hasn't been kind. Lost his wife a few years back. Still sends money to his daughter when he can." Justin blinked, throat tightening. He doesn't complain. Just works. Every shift he can pick up, he takes it. Says it helps keep his mind busy. Clara's voice dropped to a whisper. "But he's not doing well. Not really. Arthritis. Sleepless nights. Lives in a trailer behind the cafe, I heard. Doesn't want anyone's help. Too proud." Justin stared at Eli's back. The hunched posture, the weary shoulders, the faded uniform. He'd built this place to be a sanctuary, a home. But somewhere along the way, people like Eli had slipped through the cracks, and snakes like Jasper had slithered in. The bell above the door rang again. A tourist accidentally knocked over a ceramic mug. It shattered on the floor. Gasps rippled through the cafe. Jasper rolled his eyes. Nora huffed. But Eli was already moving. "Easy now, don't worry," he said, broom in hand. The tourist apologized profusely, but Eli just smiled. "Happens to the best of us." And with that, he swept up the pieces, calm as ever, just doing his job, just being who he was, and still, no one saw him, but Justin did. He saw everything, and this time, He wasn't going to stay silent. Thieves in aprons and a man with nothing to lose. The next day, Justin returned. Same jacket, same worn-out boots, same disguise. But this time, the weight on his shoulders was heavier. He hadn't slept well. Not after what he saw. The cruelty, the theft, and above all, the quiet suffering of a man everyone had chosen to ignore. Harmony Café looked the same. Driftwood tables, sunlight playing tricks on the salt-rubbed windows, the hum of small talk, spoons against porcelain, and the hiss of the kitchen grill. But to Justin, everything felt colder, like a storm cloud had settled over the heart of the place. And that heart was Eli. Justin slipped into a booth near the counter, where he had a clear view of the register and the people who worked behind it. Jasper and Nora were already there, leaning lazily against the back wall, arms crossed, sharing whispered laughter like schoolyard bullies. Eli stood by the sink, as always, but something was different. His movements were slower today, less fluid, more hesitant. Every scrub, every step seemed to carry pain. Justin's chest ached watching him. No one else seemed to notice, or maybe they just didn't care. Mia, the young waitress from the day before, brought Justin a slice of pie and a refill on his coffee. Her eyes were tired but kind. Justin cleared his throat, roughening his voice. "Busy morning?" Mia exhaled. "Always, but Eli keeps us afloat. He's a saint." Her voice softened when she looked over at him. "He never stops." Justin nodded slowly. She didn't know it yet, but that one sentence meant more than she realized. Then something caught his ear. A woman had stepped up to the register. She had 2 young kids in tow and looked like she'd been through too many hard nights. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I'm short, just by a little. My card isn't working." Nora's fake smile vanished. "Again," she said loudly, with sharp disdain. Jasper sauntered over. "If you can't pay, you can't eat. That's the rule." The woman's shoulders sagged. Her kids looked up, wide-eyed, confused. But before the moment could get worse, Eli appeared. Quiet, steady, kind. Without saying a word, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a few crumpled bills. He handed them to Nora. "Cover it," he said simply. The woman's eyes welled up. "Thank you. Thank you." She grabbed her kids and hurried out. Jasper sneered under his breath. "Third time this week," Nora snorted. "Eli's going to bankrupt himself trying to save every sob story." Justin watched, fists clenched beneath the table. But what happened next made his blood run cold. Jasper leaned in to Nora. "So we make it look like he's slipping." Nora blinked. "What, do you mean?" "Short the drawer. Say it was him. Liar's frazzled. She won't check closely." Nora smiled. Slowly, coldly. Justin couldn't believe what he was hearing. They weren't just mocking Eli. They were going to frame him, blame him for the shortages they'd created, steal, and let him take the fall. All for what? A raise? Power? Spite? Eli, meanwhile, continued scrubbing plates, oblivious to the plan being spun around him. Justin's heart thundered in his chest. He needed evidence. He needed something solid before they tore this place apart and destroyed a good man's life. A crash echoed from across the room. Mia had dropped a tray of glasses, water and shards flying everywhere. She gasped, paralyzed in embarrassment. Jasper laughed. Nora rolled her eyes. But Eli was already moving. He knelt, slowly, painfully, mop in hand. "Easy, Mia," he said gently. "It's okay." As he cleaned, a shard of glass nicked his finger. A tiny cut, but the blood bloomed quickly. Mia stepped forward in concern. "Eli, just a scratch," he said, smiling through the sting. Justin couldn't take it anymore. This wasn't right. Eli was literally bleeding to keep this place alive, and still they mocked him. He waited until Jasper and Nora stepped away to the back, then approached Clara at the counter. "Eli," he said, keeping his voice low. "What's his story?" Clara didn't hesitate. "Sad one. Lost his wife 5 years ago. Cancer. Sold everything to pay the bills. Lives in a tiny trailer out back. Still sending money to his daughter up in Portland." Justin swallowed hard. "Why hasn't anyone helped him?" he asked. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. "Because he won't let us. Too proud. Thinks asking for help makes him a burden." Justin stared at Eli, hunched over the sink again, a man who had nothing, giving everything. Later that day, Nora rang up a fisherman's bill. $12.75. The man handed her a 20. She smiled, handed back $6, and slid $1 into her apron with the smoothness of a magician. Jasper caught her eye. A nod passed between them. Justin's eyes narrowed. This wasn't a one-time slip. It was a system, a silent operation happening under the radar, a pattern designed to squeeze money from the cafe while someone else, Eli, took the blame. By the time the shift ended, Eli's hands were red from hot water. His wrists ached, his eyes dimmed with exhaustion. And yet, no one thanked him. Not Jasper, not Nora, not even Laya, the overwhelmed manager who barely looked up from her clipboard as Eli clocked out. But Justin saw it all. He waited until the cafe emptied. Then he watched Eli step outside, climb into a rusted pickup truck that coughed, like it had one breath left. Justin followed, keeping his headlights dim, his heart pounding with guilt and rage. Eli turned down a dirt road behind the cafe. Trees closed in around a clearing where a small trailer sat, old, rusted, barely standing. Eli parked, climbed the rickety steps, and disappeared inside. A single bulb flickered to life. That was it. That was his life. Justin sat there in the dark, staring at the light in the trailer window. He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Ron," he said to the man on the other end, "I need everything you can find on a guy named Eli Lawson. Medical, family, financial. I'll explain later. Just hurry." He ended the call and leaned back, in his seat. The ocean roared in the distance, but all Justin could hear was Eli's quiet voice saying, "It's just a scratch." No, this wasn't just a scratch. This was a wound, and if he didn't act soon, it would become a scar no one could undo. Behind the smile lies a broken life mourning, rolled in grey and cold. Fog curled around the coastline like a warning, thick and heavy, making even the sea feel silent. Justin sat in his truck outside Harmony Café, the engine still ticking beneath him. He hadn't slept much, not after seeing Eli's trailer, not after hearing about the cancer that stole his wife, the daughter he still tried to support from a home barely standing. He didn't come back today just to observe. He came to act, same disguise, same clothes. But something in his posture had changed. His shoulders squared, his eyes sharper beneath the shadow of his hat. Today wasn't about watching anymore. Today was about gathering proof and making things right. The cafe buzzed with its usual rhythm as he slipped inside, the smell of bacon and brewed coffee mingling with salty air. But Justin felt the chill under it all. It wasn't the weather, it was something deeper, like rot beneath paint. Eli was already at his sink, scrubbing the morning's dishes with mechanical precision. Justin noticed he was slower today, his back stiff, one hand constantly rubbing at his wrist when he thought no one was looking. "Good morning," Mia said as she passed Justin's booth, setting down his usual coffee. Justin nodded. "He's still here early, huh?" She followed his gaze. "Always," she said softly. "I don't think he knows how to rest." Justin stirred his coffee, watching as Jasper and Nora whispered behind the register, laughing at something that wasn't funny. They looked energized, confident, like people with a plan. They did have one. He heard it yesterday. Plant blame on Eli, short the register, make it stick. and no one would question it. Not liar, not the customers. Not unless someone stood in the way. A young woman walked in. Sarah. Justin had seen her before, carrying the weight of 2 young kids and a wallet that always came up a little too light. Today was no different. She approached the counter, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm short again. I'm so sorry." Nora's smile thinned. "Again?" she said, loud enough for people to hear. "We're not a charity, ma'am." Jasper leaned in, eyebrows raised. "Maybe you should come back when you can actually pay." The room chilled. Sarah's face crumpled, her kids clutching her coat, not fully understanding but feeling the shame in her silence. Then Eli stepped forward. Wordless, gentle, he pulled crumpled bills from his apron and handed them over. "Don't worry," he said, offering a kind smile to the kids. "Breakfast is on me." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She nodded quickly, mouthed a thank you, and left. Jasper muttered, "Bleeding Heart's going to put himself on the street." Nora scoffed. "Maybe that's the plan. He won't even see it coming." Justin's fists clenched beneath the table. He had to act. Soon. That afternoon, he met Ron behind the cafe. His friend handed over a folder. "You were right," Ron said. "This guy's a ghost. Sold his house years ago to pay for his wife's chemo. Still sending what little he earns to his daughter in Portland. Hospital debts eating him alive." Justin opened the folder slowly. Inside were faded photos of Eli with his wife, laughing, arms wrapped around each other in better times. A shot of them on a beach. A birthday party with a cake that probably cost more than they could afford. "He's drowning," Justin said, quietly. Ron nodded. "And he won't ask for help." Justin stared at the pages, shame creeping in. He'd built this cafe, this community. How had he let someone like Eli slip through the cracks? That evening, while the cafe buzzed with the dinner rush, Justin ducked behind the counter while Laya was distracted. His hands moved fast. Tiny cameras, hidden in light fixtures, angled just right. He connected them to a secure app on his phone. Everything was now being recorded, and just in time. As he returned to his booth, Jasper passed by, tossing a rag over his shoulder and glancing at the register. "Weird," he said loudly. "Draw's off again. I swear, it was fine earlier." Nora joined in, her voice high-pitched with fake concern. Someone must be getting sloppy. Her eyes flicked toward Eli, who was stacking dishes with trembling hands. Laya emerged from the back, rubbing her temples. "Again." "I'm double-checking everything tomorrow," she said. Jasper shrugged. "Maybe someone's not as careful as they used to be." It was subtle, but enough. They were planting doubt, every whisper, every sideways glance, pushing suspicion toward Eli like a slow-moving avalanche. Later, after the cafe closed, Justin watched from across the street. Eli exited the back door, carrying a small bag of leftovers. He walked slowly, shoulders slumped, back aching. He disappeared behind the trees toward his trailer. Justin didn't follow this time. He just sat there in his truck, hands gripping the steering wheel, his heart sinking lower than ever before. The man was giving every ounce of himself to this place, and in return, he was being bled dry. Tomorrow would be different. Justin would be ready. The storm wasn't coming anymore. It was here, and Justin Bieber was done being quiet, framing the innocent. The storm hit before sunrise, not from the sky, but from behind the counter at Harmony Café. Justin arrived early, earlier than usual. The sky outside was still a bruised grey, the streets slick with dew. Inside, the warmth of the cafe was already humming, coffee brewing, muffins in the oven, sunlight just beginning to seep through the clouds. But it didn't feel peaceful. It felt like something was about to break. Eli was already at the sink, moving slower than ever. His back was bent, his hands red from hot water, his wrists wrapped in gauze from the cut he'd shrugged off the day before. He looked exhausted, and still, he greeted everyone with a nod, a kind word, a soft, good morning that no one seemed to return. Jasper and Nora were louder than usual, their energy sharper, too rehearsed. Justin didn't need to guess why. The trap was almost ready. He'd seen them testing the wires all week, mocking, stealing, blaming, and today they would spring it. He just needed to let it happen. That was the hardest part, letting Eli walk into the trap, knowing it was coming, watching it happen, just to make sure the proof stuck. He checked his phone. The hidden cameras were online. The footage was clear. All he needed now was the final act. That's when Anna walked in. She was a single mum Justin had met through a local outreach group months ago. Today, she was playing a part. He hated using her daughter, Lily, even more. But he'd explained everything, promised to cover her rent, buy groceries for the month, whatever it took. She understood. She'd seen too many Elis in her own life. She sat near the counter with Lily, ordered soup and grilled cheese, and waited. Justin felt sick watching them eat in silence. Anna's coat was patched, her hair pulled back tight, her shoulders curled inward like she was expecting to be told she didn't belong. It was a role, but one she didn't have to stretch to play. Nora saw her. Her smile turned stiff. Jasper leaned in. "Here we go," he muttered. Anna finished the meal and walked to the register. Justin held his breath. She opened her wallet, then paused, her voice low. "My card's not working. Bank's fixing something," she said. "I can come back later." Nora shook her head. No pay, no food. Her voice was cold, unforgiving. Anna lowered her gaze. Lily clung to her side, confused. Then Eli stepped up. Of course he did. He always did. Without hesitation, he reached into his pocket and handed over a 20. "I got it," he said, looking down at Lily with a soft smile. "Everyone needs help sometimes." Anna tried to refuse, just like they'd planned. But Eli insisted. "I want to," he said simply. "It's not charity, it's just kindness." Justin swallowed hard. That's when Jasper struck. "Drawers short," he shouted, pointing at Eli. Again, the cafe froze. Heads turned, eyes locked on the man still holding the 20 in his hand. Nora chimed in, eyes wide with fake shock. "He was standing right there, liar." Eli blinked, confused. "I was just covering their meal." Liar came, out of the back, clipboard in hand, eyes heavy with exhaustion. "What's going on?" Jasper shrugged. "We've been short every day. And look, he's holding the money," Nora added. "I saw him near the drawer earlier." Customers began to murmur. Eli's face flushed, his voice cracking. I didn't." Liar looked at him, torn. "Eli, have you been handling cash lately?" "I just help sometimes," Eli said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When people can't pay." "Out of the drawer?" Jasper asked, loud, indignant. "No," Eli said quickly. "Never. I always use my own." Jasper cut in. "Then why is it always short when you're on shift?" Nora folded her arms. "Feels like a pattern." Justin felt his blood boil, the ease with which they lied, the confidence, the performance. But the trap wasn't finished. He needed more. A regular customer, Tom, the fisherman, stood up, slamming his coffee mug down. "Eli, a thief. That's bull." But the damage was already done. The crowd was split. Some believed, some doubted, but all eyes were on Eli, and none of them looked kind. Liar sighed. "Eli, it doesn't look good." Eli's hands trembled. He looked at the faces staring back at him and didn't speak. His silence was heavier than any denial. His shame wasn't just from the accusation. It was from the realization that no one believed in him anymore. Justin's heart shattered. The man had carried this cafe on his back for years, and now he was being pushed off the cliff with nothing but his pride to cushion the fall. Then Nora dealt the final blow. "Yesterday, I saw him alone at the drawer. Looked like he was counting. Gasps, whispers, disbelief. Some looked away. I didn't, Eli said softly. Lia's voice faltered. 2 people saw you. I was helping, Eli repeated. That's all. Helping yourself? Jasper snapped. A little girl in a nearby booth began to cry. Her mother shushed her, but the sound only made the silence louder. Justin's hands curled into fists. He had what he needed. Nora, Jasper, lies, clear as glass. He stood slowly. His chair scraped the floor with a sharp slicing sound. All heads turned. He walked forward, eyes fixed on Eli, who now stood by the sink, accused, humiliated, and utterly alone. Justin's voice was calm. There's a truth you all need to see. Then he pulled off his hat, and everything changed. The reveal that shattered silence. Gasps rippled across the cafe as Justin pulled off his hat. For a moment, no one spoke. The realization hit like a wave breaking over the rocks, recognition dawning on every face in the room. The man in the denim jacket, the stranger quietly watching from the booth all week, wasn't a drifter. He wasn't just another customer. He was Justin Bieber, the owner of Harmony Café. The air shifted. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks froze mid-air. Even the ocean seemed to hush outside. Eli's head lifted slowly, his eyes wide, disbelief painting his face. Justin looked directly at him, voice calm, but firm. I've been here all week, Eli, watching, listening, and what I've seen broke my heart. He turned toward the others. This place was built to be something different, a home, a second chance, a family. But somewhere along the way we lost that. People lost each other, and someone who's given more than anyone else was treated like nothing. He raised his phone. But I didn't just watch, I recorded. The screen behind the counter flickered to life. A few customers leaned forward. Some exchanged nervous glances. Jasper stiffened. Nora's hand went to her apron pocket. Then the footage began. Crystal clear. Jasper pocketing a $5 bill from the register. Nora handing back short change to an elderly couple. The 2 of them whispering at the counter. Frame Eli. Liar will believe it. Gasps broke out. Someone cursed under their breath. Tom, the fisherman, muttered. New. Something smelled off. On screen, Eli was seen pulling cash from his own pocket to pay for Sarah's meal. Helping Mia after her accident. Fixing the broken coffee machine late at night. Staying long after his shift, alone, when everyone else had gone home. The entire room watched, and with each second, the lie unraveled. Nora backed away from the counter, mascara streaking her cheeks. We didn't mean... Justin cut her off. You meant to ruin a man who gave everything. Jasper stepped forward, face red, fists clenched. This is a setup. But 2 regulars blocked his path to the exit, arms crossed. You're not going anywhere, one of them said. Right on cue, the bell above the door jingled. 2 police officers stepped in. Justin had called them that morning. He didn't want drama, but he wanted justice. Jasper Whitman, Nora Fields, one officer said. You're under arrest for theft and attempted fraud. Handcuffs clicked. Nora sobbed. Jasper swore. But no one in the cafe moved to stop it. In fact, some clapped. Others just stood silently, watching the reckoning unfold. Eli stood frozen near the sink, unable to move. His hands trembled. Justin walked over. I'm sorry, he said, voice thick. Not just for what happened today, but for every day I let you carry this place alone. Eli looked up at him, eyes filled with confusion and disbelief. You didn't know, he whispered. I should have, Justin replied. The customers began to rise, one by one, clapping for Eli. It wasn't loud or wild. It was warm, steady, real. Tom raised his mug in a quiet toast. Mia wiped her eyes. Even Lia covered her mouth, stunned. Justin raised a hand, and the cafe quieted. From this moment on, Harmony Café changes. He turned back to Eli. You're not a dishwasher anymore. Starting today, you're the floor manager. Better hours. Better pay, full benefits, Eli blinked. I don't know how to manage. You've got integrity, Justin said. That's enough. The rest we'll teach you. Tears rolled down Eli's cheeks. The man who had said nothing all week now had everything to say, but couldn't find the words. And Justin wasn't finished. There's more, he said, pulling a second folder from his coat. I spoke with your daughter. She knows about the trailer. She wants you closer. But I think you belong here. So this, he opened the folder, is the deed to a house 3 blocks away. Yours. No rent, no mortgage, no more cold nights. In that rusted trailer. Eli opened the papers, hands shaking. His name was on the title. He sobbed openly now, not from pain, but from relief, from being seen, from being valued. Justin stepped forward and gripped his shoulder. You reminded me what this place was supposed to be. He turned back to the cafe. Starting today, every Harmony Café location will guarantee a living wage, full health benefits, and an emergency fund for employees in crisis. No one here will have to choose between helping others and paying their own bills. The crowd erupted. Mia cheered. Clara wiped tears from her eyes. Someone in the back shouted, "Finally!" Anna approached quietly, Lily by her side. She handed Justin a small envelope. We took up a collection, she said. For Eli, whatever he needs next. Justin smiled. Let's use it to start something bigger. The Eli Lawson Fund. For anyone in this town who just needs a little kindness. The cafe roared again. And Eli just stood there, his shoulders no longer slumped, his hands no longer trembling, a quiet strength shining from him now. Not because he was different, but because the world had finally caught up to the kind of man he already was. The cafe felt warm again, not from the sunlight, not from the food, but from truth, from justice, from the kind of goodness that doesn't demand attention, but changes everything when it's finally seen. Justin glanced around, eyes landing on every face. Then he looked at Eli. This is your cafe now too. And Eli finally smiled. From dishwater to legacy. A new beginning. Weeks passed, and something shifted in Harmony Café. Not just in the decor or the staffing charts or even the daily operations. No, it was deeper than that. It was in the way customers lingered longer, in the way employees greeted each other with a little more heart, in the laughter of children at the booths and the warmth of regulars who returned not just for the food, but for the feeling. And at the center of it all was Eli. He no longer wore the dishwasher's apron. Instead, a small silver badge gleamed on his chest. Floor manager. His steps were steadier, his back straighter. There was still a quiet humility in his movements, but now it was paired with a quiet pride. His house, just 3 blocks away, had a new coat of paint, a swing on the porch for his granddaughter, a garden beginning to bloom. Life was no longer just survival. It was something more. Customers who once passed him without a glance now waved. They asked how he was doing. They told their children his story. And in return, he offered them the same thing he always had: kindness, respect, and a gentle smile that said, "I see you. You matter." Justin returned often, not as a celebrity, but as a leader with sleeves rolled up and heart wide open. He held meetings with staff, sat in the kitchen with Laya to review changes, and introduced new wellness programs across every Harmony Café location. But more than that, he listened, and he never forgot. Jasper and Nora's names faded quickly, remembered only as a cautionary tale. But Eli's name became something more. It became a legacy. The Eli Lawson Fund grew, helping not only staff but struggling families throughout the town. Donations came in from strangers, tourists who had watched the viral video, locals who had once needed help themselves. Eli poured coffee for Tom at his usual booth one morning, and Tom smiled wide. "Place feels different now," he said. "Feels honest." Eli just nodded. Guess it finally caught up with its own name. Harmony. It wasn't just a brand anymore. It was real. But this isn't just a story about a man who scrubbed dishes. It's about what happens when someone finally sees the unseen, when truth is louder than lies, when a single act of kindness, again and again and again, changes the rhythm of a place forever. And maybe, just maybe, you've met someone like Eli, someone quiet, constant, kind, someone who gave more than they got and never asked for praise. If you have, tell us their story below. The world needs more Elis. And this story isn't over, because out there, somewhere, another cafe is struggling. Another Eli is scrubbing away, unseen, and another Justin is walking through the door, hat low, eyes open. Because sometimes, to fix what's broken, you have to stop pretending you're just passing through.